Welcome everyone as we learn Chok Yisrael for Parshas Ki Sisa, Yom Sheni, day 2, Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. Vayidaber Hashem and Moshe Leimer, Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Malel Hashem and Moshe Leimer, V'asisa Kior Nechoshish, you should make, they call it in fancy terminology, a copper laver. It's a type of urn with spigots. V'chanoi, and its base out of nechoshes, out of copper, l'rochsa, for the kahanim to do the kiddush yadayim v'raglayim, to wash themselves, v'nosata isai, bein oyel moyed or bein ha-mizbeach, and you put it in the area between the oyel moyed and the mizbeach hachitzon, v'nosata shama moyim, and you put there water. V'saved ki yored in nechosha v'sisei in nechosha l'kiddush v'sitein yosei bein mashkin zimna or bein madbecha v'sitein tamon maya. Says Rashi, kiyor is kamin dud gedayla, a type of large urn, v'lo dadin, and it has spouts, hamarikim v'fiyah mayim, that come out of it, to empty out of it water. V'kanoi ketargun b'sisei, a base. Moishiv, a base, mesukun, fashioned l'kir for the fountain. L'rochsa goes back, Musa balakir, the fountain is for them to wash. Obeina mizbeach. Now here's a problem. It says between the mizbeach and the oil moed, but there can be nothing intervening between the oil moed and the mizbeach hachitzon. So it means in the area between, but drawn to the south, not interposing between the beginning of the Mishkan and the mizbeach. Obeina mizbeach. The Mizbeach means the Mizbeach, not the Mizbeach Hazav in the base of Mikdash, in the Mishkan, but Mizbeach Ha'ila, the Mizbeach of the offerings, Shekasabo Shehu Lifnei Pesach Mishkan Oil Ma'id, which was in front of the door of the Mishkan Oil Ma'id. Vayakir Mishoich Kima, it was drawn to the side. V'aymed Keneged Avir Shebein HaMizbeach VaMishkan, in the area, in the airspace between the Mizbeach and the Mishkan, not from the Mizbeach and outward, but in the area between the Mizbeach and the Mishkan, but ve'ena mafsik klal ben time, not directly in between the door and the Mizbeach, because there can't be anything in between. Mishum shenemer ve'es Mizbach ha'oila sham pesach mishkan some Pesach Mishkan Oil Ma'id, the Mizbeach Ha'oila, the outer Mizbeach was placed by the door of the Mishkan Oil Ma'id. K'laymer, Mizbeach Lifnei Oil Ma'id, only the Mizbeach fronted the door of the Oil Ma'id. Ve'en Kir Lifnei Oil Ma'id, the Kir is not interposing between them. Ha'ketzad, rather in that area, Meshoich Kima Klape Adarim, more pulled towards the south of the Azara, Kach Shnuya, as it's explained, Bizvachim. V'rochetzu Aaron Avanim Imenu Es Yedeim Ragleim, and Aaron and his children washed from there their hands and their feet, as Rashi will say, both at the same time. V'kachun Aaron Avanoi Minei Yas Yedeim V'Yas Ragleihin. Es Yedeim Es Ragleim, says Rashi, B'Bas Achas, at the same time, Hoyim Mekadosh Yod V'Raglav, he would wash his hands and his feet. V'kach Shaninu B'Zvachim, Ketzad Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim, what was the procedure of the sanctifying of the hands and the feet? Maniach Yoda Yemonis Al Gabe Raglay Yemonis, he put his right hand on his right foot, V'Yoda Asmoilus Al Gabe Raglay Asmoilus, and his left hand on his left foot, or Mekadosh, and wash them together. And the pasuk says, "B'voyam el oyel moed," when you entered into the oyel moed, there were certain avodas that they did in the oyel moed, namely the ketores, the daily incense in the morning and the afternoon, and the sacrifice of the par kohen Mashiach, if the kohen gadol did a sin, or for the sins of idolatry. There they brought karbanos into. They sprinkled the blood inside the Kodesh. They should first wash their hands, and then they won't die. Or when they came nigh to the altar, to minister by bringing the karbanos that were on the outer altar, to smoke up fire offerings to Hashem. B'mei alon l'mashkan zimni yikachin mayim v'lo yemusa b'mikrav from the madbecha l'shamosh l'asaka kurbana kadam arinoi. Says Rashi, b'vayim el oyel moed, when did they actually go into the oyel moed to do service? L'akter shachris u'bein ha'arbaim k'teris, to smoke up in the morning and the afternoon the incense, or lahazlis midam para kohen Mashiach, or to sprinkle the blood of the par of the Kohen Gadol who did a sin, or the Seirei Avodas Elilim, or the he-goat that was brought for a sin of idolatry. V'lo yamusu. Now, here Rashi tells us this is the way that the Torah is learned. It says you won't die if you do it. That implies that if you go in without washing, you will die. Ha'im lo yirchatzu, if you don't wash from the kiyah beforehand, you're musa, you will die. It's a kiyah misa b'nei shemayim. Sheb'Torah nemra klolos, because in the Torah it says the general principle, and we follow the rule, from the negative we deduce the positive. That's the way the Mamloyes learns. It says, that implies that if we don't honor our parents, we won't live long. Or it says, by mezuzah, that's why we always check our mezuzahs, because not to have a kosher mezuzah could be dangerous. Elam Mizbeach, from the negative we deduce the positive. Elam Mizbeach hachitzon, or that which we go to the outer altar, not inside. She'ein kan bias oil moed, we're not going inside. Ela b'chotzer, in the courtyard, to do all the other korbanos, like the oila, like the shlamim, like the chatas, like the oshim. And now we move on to the Nevi'im and Malachim, where we were talking about how Eliyahu challenged the 450 Nevi'ei Abal. And he said, I'll take a par, and you pick the first bull and put it on the wood, and don't put a fire there, and then call out to your God that he should burn it up. Vayikru es hapar, so the pasuk continues that the Nevi'ei Abal took the bull, Asher Nasalem, which was given to them, Vayasu, and they did Vayikru v'shem Abal, they laid it out without fire, and they called in the name of their Baal, in the name of their idol, Me'aboiker v'alatzarayim, from the morning until the afternoon. Lamer Habal saying, Habal Aneinu, answer us. There was no voice, ve'ein ona, and no answer. Ve'yifaschu al mizbeach asher asa, and they stood and they danced on the altar that they made. Ve'hibatzarayim, and it was already in the afternoon. Ve'yahatel behem Eliyahu, and Eliyahu mocked them. Ve'yomer kiru v'kol gadol. Why don't you call out with a loud voice? Ki Elohimu, he's your God. Maybe Ki Siach, maybe he's talking in a meeting. V'chi sig, maybe he's chasing something. V'chi derechloi, maybe he's going to the bathroom. Ulay yashenu, maybe he's sleeping. V'yikatz, you need to wake him up. Vayikru b'kol gadol, and they called out in a loud voice. Vayisgaidu kimishpatam, and then they started cutting themselves. It was their custom to cut themselves, b'charavis, with knives, b'ramachim, and spears, at shvach dam aleim, until their blood spurted out upon them. Vayikavor atzarayim, as the afternoon passed. Vayisnabu, and they made to prophesize, ad la'alois mincha, until it came the time for the afternoon carbon. Ve'ein kol ve'ein oina, there's no voice, no answer, ve'ein koshev, and no one was listening. And we'll see that afterwards Hashem will bring fire to the carbon of Eliyahu, vindicating, of course, Eliyahu and Elikei B'Shamayim. Now we're going to learn from the wise words of Mishlei. Gam b'loi das, if a person does not have the knowledge of Torah, then nefesh loi tov, then his soul is not good. We have to know that just like food is the mazon of the body, so Torah is the mazon, is the food of the soul. And without Torah, without the das of Torah, the soul is not good. The otz beraglayim, one who is hasty with his feet, chayte, is a sinner. This means that there are people that rapidly trample over sins as if they don't have a care about it. So they trample over gossip, talking about people without care. They talk in a shul without worry. They scream at people and say hurtful words without care. Now Rashi also tells us a homiletic explanation on this pasuk, that it's referring to intimacy with one's wife. And Gambaloy das, if a person is with his wife without her consent, then nefesh loy tov, that creates souls that are no good. The children that come from such a relation is no good. V'otz b'raglayim, or if one is hasty with his feet, having repetitive bia without her consent, chayte, that's a sin. The pasuk continues, Iveles Adam tisalef darkai, the foolishness of a person causes him to pervert his ways. And the person who acts foolishly brings him to sin. Va'al Hashem yiz'af libay. And then when he gets punished, when his way is perverted and Hashem punishes him, then he is angry at God for his fate, and he doesn't realize that it comes from his foolishness and from his perverted ways. Hain, if a person has wealth, Yosef Reim, he will naturally have many friends. Yosef Reim Rabin. If a person has wealth, he will have a lot of friends because people like to be friendly with a wealthy person. Vidal mere'ehu yiparid. But if one is poor, his friends will separate from him. That's fair weather friends. Shkarim lo yinake. If one gives false testimony, he won't escape punishment. V'yafiach kizavim, and one who utters falsehoods, lo yimale. He won't escape the wrath of Hashem. And now, as we learn the 21st parak of Shabbos, we learn some yesodais of muktzah. Noitel adam es benai va'even biyadai. A person could pick up his son with a stone in his hand. Now, even though a stone is muktzah machmas gufay, stone is inherently muktzah, he doesn't have to cause the child to shake it out of his hand because the child will cry. He could pick up the child because the child has gaguim, has need for his father. He also could move the kalkala v'evan b'seich. If a basket has a hole and a stone was put in to cover the hole from before Shabbos, he can move the basket with the stone there because the stone was put there for a purpose. Umetaltal and truma tameya im hatahira v'imachulin. He could move something that contains truma tameya. Now truma tameya can't be eaten, so it's muksa. But if it's together with truma tahira, not mixed up, but is also in the basket truma tahira or chulin, that is the more important thing now, and therefore you could move it because it doesn't make it a basis l'davarasa, because the more important contents was the truma tahira or the chulin. Rabbi Yudaimer af mailin esamaduma be'echad. If you have truma that fell into 100 parts of chulin, so the din is that it's neutralized, but before you could eat the chulin, you have to remove 1 measure of truma, because even though it's neutralized, but there is 1 measure of truma there, so you have to remove the 1 measure of truma. Now you might think that you can't do that on Shabbos because it's mirzek k'misakin, it's like fixing. However, Rabbi Yehuda holds, since you could succeed in being able to use it by just mentally assigning the truma piece to one side and then use the other side, so since you accomplished that, you could even remove it, since it's not fixing it, because you would have been able to eat it even if you didn't physically remove it. If you have a stone on top of a barrel of wine, and in order to take out the wine, you had to remove the stone, so you could do it kil achar yad, you could do it indirectly. Mata al tzida, you could tilt the barrel to its side, v'hina feles, and it will fall off. But let's say it's amongst barrels, so if you will tilt it, it'll break the barrel next to it. Hoysa bein achavyas, magvia, you could pick it up, and then al mata al tzida, and then tilt it on the side, v'hinoi felas. Moi shalakar, if you have money on a pillow and you want to lay down, noyer esakar, you could shake the pillow, v'hei noiflus, and it falls off by itself. Hoysa lovely shleshes, if you have some dirt on the pillow, you can't put water on it, because the water will sink into the pillow, and that would be considered the iser doraisa of kaives, of watching it. Rather, mekancha b'smartut, you could rub it off with a rag. However, if it was a pillow of leather, leather doesn't absorb the water, and therefore, you could put water on it until the dirt is removed. You could remove from a table bones and shells. Beis Shammai holds you're allowed to do this because the bones and shells are fit to be eaten by an animal. You have to pick up the table umanara and shake it off, and you can't take it off directly. The Gemara says that Beis Hillel is more lenient in Muksa than Beis Shammai, and therefore it switches it around and says that Beis Hillel is the one that holds that you could actually take off from the table the bones and the shells. You could remove from the table crumbs that even though they're less than a kazayis, v'seir shalafunim, and the pods of chickpeas, v'seir shaladashim, and the pods of lentils, because it is animal food and therefore it's not muksa. Sveig, a sponge. Now the sponge, there's a problem because when you squeeze it, the water comes out and it washes the sponge. Now, even though it's Eina Mechaven, you don't have in mind to wash the sponge, but if it's a psik reisha, if it's going to definitely happen, then even something that's not b'mechaven, not with intention, is also if it's psik reisha. Psik reisha means it's inevitable. It comes from the terminology psik reisha v'lo yamas. Will you cut off its head and it will not die? So therefore, im yeshloi or beis akiza, if it has a handle of leather, so you hold the handle and you don't hold the sponge, so it's not a psik reisha, it's not inevitable that the water will come out, then it's allowed. But to hold the sponge itself, there it's inevitable that the water will come out. Either way, nita b'Shabbos, it could be moved on Shabbos, because since when it's dry, it's a keli. But very interesting, ve'ena mekabel tumah. A sponge, although it's a keli, it's not susceptible to contamination, because it's only susceptible to contamination if it's wood, fabric, sack, or metal. The sponge, which is neither, is not makabel tumah. And now we move into the Gemara in Shabbos on Daf Kuf Mem Beis Amud Beis. We're really getting to the very end of Masechta Shabbos. Moish alakar, money that's on a cushion. That's only if you forgot the money on the pillow. But if you put the money deliberately on the pillow, then then the pillow becomes a base for that which is aser. It itself becomes aser, and then you can't move it. When do you have to shake off the money? That's only if you need the pillow itself. But if you need the area under the pillow, then then you could move it with the money there and just take it off the bed if you need to use the area under the pillow. That's only if you need the pillow. But if you need the area under the pillow, you just pick up the pillow with the money. Rabbi Yishia says, Shachach arneke b'chatzer. If you forgot your purse in the courtyard and you're afraid to leave it out there, maniach aleha kikar, you could put on it a piece of bread, oitinik, or a child, and a metaltala, then you could move it together with the bread or together with the child. Rav Yitzchak, similarly, shachach leveina b'chatzer. If you forgot a brick in the courtyard, brick is also muksa. Maniach aleha kikar oitinik. You could put on it a piece of bread or a child, metaltal. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar Rabbi Asi, Pamacha shakachu diskia malaya mois bisratya. Oh boy! One time we forgot a saddlebag with thousands of dollars in it on the Rishus Rabbim, on the public street. Obo v'shalu es Rabbi Yochanan. We asked Rabbi Yochanan, v'amalahen, and he said, Hanichu aleh kikar oitinik. You could put on it a child a piece of bread or a child till Talua, but that doesn't solve the problem. How could you move it into Rosh Hashanah? You're not allowed to move it 4 amas in Rosh Hashanah. So the Mefarshim say either he meant that you should take it in spurts of less than 4 amas. You move it 3 amas, stop. Then you move it another 3 amas, stop, until you get to the house. Or the other way to handle it is to make a line of people on both sides, a human line of people on both sides, so they serve as partitions, and then you could carry it through. Amar Marzuta, Hilchus HaKachol Hani Shmaitza, the halach is in all these cases, only b'sheichech, only when you forgot. Rav Ashi Amar, even afilu shachach namilo, even if you forgot, you can't put a piece of bread or a child, except Rahman al-Litzon, by a dead body that's in the sun. By a dead body that's in the sun that shouldn't decompose, there we use a heter. They only have the heter of a loaf or a child. If somebody died and he's in the sun, so like it happened with David HaMelech, so then you could put on a piece of bread or a child and carry it. Abaya, manach kipa akipe. Abaya needed some twigs on Yom Tov, and he put a ladle on the twigs. No, not on Yom Tov. But he wanted to bring in twigs, so he put a ladle on the twigs and brought them in. Rava manach sakina abar yaina. Rava put a knife on some raw goose. It was raw goose. Umetaltala. Amar Rav Yosef, kama charifa shmaitza dedarke. They think they're so sharp. You forgot it there. But to do this in the first instance, is it allowed? Amar Abaye, so Abaye explained his rationale. If not that I'm an important person, I'm worried that people won't understand. Kappa kipe lamali. I wouldn't even have to put the ladle on it, because the twigs are fit to recline upon. They're not muks at all. And similarly, Amar Rava, if I wouldn't be Adam Choshev, Sakina bar yoina lamali. What do I need to put the sakin on the goose? Even though it's raw, and on Shabbos you can't cook, but you could have sushi style. You could chew on it when it's raw. They used to do that. They used to have sushi meat, sushi duck. And it says the Gemara, only because it's fit to chew on it. But because you could give it to an animal, that wouldn't be enough. Why? Because he holds that which is muchen la'adam eina muchen la'behema. That which is fit for a human is not fit for an animal. That's like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, if he wouldn't be able to chew it he wouldn't be able to move it. Remember, the Rava Rabbi Yehuda, it seems to be that Rava holds, like Rabbi Yehuda, that which is muchen la'adam is not considered muchen la'behema. Rava told his attendant, Tovali bar avza. By the way, I kept on saying yaina over here. Yaina is a dove meat. Here the Gemara says goose. Tfeili bar avza. He said to him, on Yom Tov, roast me goose, ushtei me eha l'shunra, and throw the entrails to the cat. Now this is a big chiddush, because before Yom Tov, entrails is human food. People eat kishka. Just on Yom Tov, when they have other food, they don't eat it, because they're busy with the liver and the egg salad and the pacha and the cold cuts, so they don't eat it. So that means that before Yom Tov, it was made for an adam, and on Yom Tov, it first became fit for an animal. So that would be, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you wouldn't be able to use it. But he said, he said you could throw the entrails to the child. Says the Gemara, no. Hasam keva nemasrich, since he knows that if he would try to hold over the entrails till after Yom Tov it would ruin, it would stink. So already before Yom Tov he had in mind that he was going to throw it to the dogs, and therefore it's not considered noiled. Daite yilvei me esma. It says, the Rava holds the more stringent opinion of Muksa of Rabbi Yehuda. The Darish Rava, a woman cannot go into a woodshed to take a piece of wood and use it as a poker. Why? Because since the wood in the woodshed is made for fuel, to use it as a poker is nailed on Yom Tov. V'ud shenishbar, and a poker that breaks, also lasika b'Yom Tov, because if it broke on Yom Tov, so now to use it as fuel, it's nailed. It's born now anew, and something that wasn't prepared from before Yom Tov, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're not allowed to use. L'fisha masikim b'kelim, you could use as fuel kelim, which are not muksa, but you can't use a broken keli, because a broken keli was originally on Shabbos made to be used as a utensil, and now that it breaks, it becomes noiled to be used as fuel. That you're not allowed to do. Shema Minah, that he holds like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. And now we learn an interesting Zohar. The Zohar discusses that Jews would not be able to hold out through the sufferings and turmoil and anti-Semitism and pogroms and expulsions and massacres and holocausts, if not for the promise that in the future Hashem will show us favor and give us reward, and we will see the downfall of our enemies. Pasuk Rabbi Yaisi v'Amar. Rabbi Yaisi opened up with the pasuk in Yeshaya, Hein yevoshu v'yikolmu. They will be embarrassed and disgraced. Kol hanecharim bach, all those that contend with you. Zamin kutshaberichu. Hashem is destined l'me'ebed Yisrael, to do for Klal Yisrael kol inan tovin, all the good things, the ka'amar al yedei nevi'ei kshait, which are prophesied by the prophets of truth. Yisrael savlu aleihan kama bishin, and Klal Yisrael tolerates many bad things begalusan during their exile. And if it wouldn't be for all the good that they look forward to, that they see promised in the Torah, they wouldn't be able to exist and tolerate the bitter exile. But they go into the study hall, Paschin Sifrin, they open up the Svarim, V'chaman kolin and tovin the kamachakon, and they see all the goodness that they look forward to. V'chaman ksiven berais, and they see written in the Torah the aftachlon kutshaberichu alayu, that Hashem promises them, or misnachamin, and through these promises they are comforted begalusan, in the long exile. U'sh'aram, and the rest of the nations mecharfin, they disgrace us, or megatfinlon, and they blaspheme us. V'amrei, and they say, Anu Elohachan, where is your God? Anin and Tobin, and where is the good that you say is destined for you? V'chi kol amin the Olma yichsefun minaychu, are all the nations of the world disgraced from you? This is what it says. Shimu dvar Hashem, listen to the words of Hashem. Hacharedim el dvarai, that are trembled because of the word. Amru acheichem sainechem, what your brother over here means Rome, Edom, Esav, the Sonachim, your enemies. Maya charedim el dvar, what does it mean that they tremble from the word? Inun de sablu kama bishan, it's us who have to tolerate many bad things. Kama shmu shami, how many threats and disgraces we have hurled at us. Ilan al ilan, one on top of another, and ilan basar ilan, one coming after another. V'charidu alein, and we tremble from them. How many times have we heard threats of destruction and have missiles rained on our heads and worried about poisonous canisters in the missiles? Kamadat Amr, Ki, it says in Yirmiyah, Kol charoda shamanu, we heard voices that of trembling. Pachad, we have fear. Ve'ein shalom, there's no peace. Inon charedin toder al dvaro, we are trembling constantly because of this word. Kadis avadina, especially if it's a time of midas hadin, when Klal Yisrael is deserving of punishment. Amru, it says, Amru achechem soinechem, your brother, your enemy. Who's your brother, your enemy? Ilon inon achuchan b'nei Esav. These are the Romans, the children of Esav. Menadechem, they call you impure. Menadechem means like a nida. Kamoda at Amar, like it says in Eicha. Suru Tomei, turn away, you contaminated one. Karu Lamai, they called his nation. The less Amad to come avazin lon ba'anpei. There is no nation that shames us to our face, or merakikin ba'anpayu, and spits in the face li Yisrael kibnei Edom, like the Romans. The Amrei dechulu masavin knida, and they say that we're tummy like a menstruant woman. V'doyiu menadechem, and this is what they hurl against us, that we're like a nida. L'man shmi yichbar Hashem. You got to hear what Esav says. L'man shmi, for my name, Hashem is honored. Anan de Omrin b'noi de Kel Chai. They say we are the son of the living God. Di bon yisyaker shmei. They say that through us Hashem's name is glorified. Anon shaltonin alama. We rule over the world. We have dominion over the world. Begin hahu de ikri gadol, because we descend from the one that was called Gadol, because Esav was the B'nai HaGadol. Esav B'nai HaGadol. So they said, we're the one that's called Gadol, and God is also called Gadol. Ubishmada ikrei kutchabrichu Gadol. Hashem is also called Gadol. Gadol Hashem. Hashem is great, umhulal ma'id, and very praised. So Esav claims that we are the B'nai Kel Chai. We are the son of God. We have that equation that we're Gadol, we're the older son, and Hashem is the Gadol. Anan B'nai HaGadol, V'iyu Gadol, we're the sons of the Gadol, and God is Gadol. V'adai l'man shmi, for the sake of my name, Yichbar Hashem. Avalatan, Esav continues to throw at us, you, Ze'irin Mikaela, you're the smallest one. Yaakov B'nai HaKatan, Yaakov, the young child, Siv. Anu Elohachan, where is your God? Anu inan tovan, where is the goodness? The yichsefun kol amamaya mechedva delchain, that all of the nations are going to be shamed from your happiness. Man yitein v'nira b'simchasem. Who would give to see it in your joy? Kamada aton amrin, like you say. However, the pasuk continues. V'heim yevoishu. The Ruach HaKodesh says, V'heim yevoishu. They will be embarrassed. Ruach HaKodesh aimer v'heim yevoishu. So, and furthermore, we could read the pasuk that they're continuing their disgrace of us. Where is it that it says that all the nations will be shamed? V'heim yevoishu, and they will be shamed. Command the tali kilos ba'akara, like they're saying their curse in others. Begin the atan amrin. You say the chedein yevoishu v'yikomu. You say, and then we will be embarrassed and disgraced. Where are we embarrassed and disgraced? Well, begin done, because they use that terminology. Ruach kutchava amar milahachi. The divine spirit uses these words. Valda, as it says, hein yevoishu v'yikomu. This is what we started with. They will be shamed and disgraced. Kol necharim bach. all those that contend with you throughout the years, throughout the millennia. Now, what's the lashon necharim? Necharim is nechiros. Nechiros are the nostrils. My kala necharim bach. The iskifu nechireyan berugza Allah begalusada. Their nose flared with anger. Their nostrils flared with anger against you in this galus. However, Bahu Zimna, when it comes to future, they'll be shamed and disgraced. Mikol Tovin, from all the good, the Yacham L'Haim Yisrael, that will be showed to Klal Yisrael. Now, as we move on to the Musar, we spoke yesterday about anger. Now, the Musar tells us there's something even worse, and that's jealousy. Hakina, jealousy, he grama lavoi lidei sinna. That generates anger. But not only does that generate anger, the gamhi yoiser kasha, it's even worse than anger. Ki morid al kadosh baruch hu, because the person that's jealous rebels against God, saying, why did you give him more than me? And if you look through history, you'll see how many bad things come because of jealousy. Jealousy, desire, and honor cause a person to leave early from this world. Say Elamad, the ancients were only punished because of jealousy. Kain, who was on such a high level that he spoke mouth to mouth with Hashem, Nitrid min ha'olam, was destroyed from the world eventually with the flood. Hu v'zar Yosef, he and all of his descendants. Al shekina l'tu'umasa shel Hevel. It says that Cain was born with one girl, one twin, and Hevel was born with two twins. And they argued about the second twin. And because Cain was jealous about the second twin, he was destroyed from the world. And because of that, he murdered his brother. The same thing, the 10 tribes. Were only exiled to Mitzrayim because they were jealous of the multicolored cloak of Yosef. They were jealous of Yosef. Not only that, that led to the terrible killing of the 10 Harugei Malchus, the 10 martyrs, which were to be mechaper on the Chet of Mechiras Yosef. The Yeravam, his intellect was incredibly superior. Shekol Chachmei Doira Lefan, of all the wise men of his generation, were compared to him Ki'isbei Asada, like mere grass. Yet Nitrad min ha'olam, he was destroyed from the world because he was jealous of Rechavam and the kings of Beis David. And also even Shaul, Gam Shaul, Bechir Hashem, the choice one of Hashem, he was considered pure. Keben Shana Shaloi Tam Tam Chet. He was like a year-old babe that didn't taste sin. And in his empire there was nothing wrong. Yet Nitrid Malchusa, he lost his throne. And he and 3 of his children lost their lives. And the city of Noiv, Erakahanim, was destroyed. Begalu Yisrael Biad Plishtim, and Klal Yisrael was exiled to the Philistines. V'nechrab Mishkan Shiloh, and the temple of Shiloh was destroyed. All V'akol al Shekinah LeDavid B'inyan Goliath, because he was jealous that David killed Goliath. Sarah me'al of Ruach HaKodesh, he lost the divine spirit. V'nochal of Ruach Ivim, and he was seized by Tiruf Hadas. His mind became scrambled. Hashem Yatzileinu, we call Midas Rais. Hashem should save us from these bad Midas, like Sinna and Kina, V'yizakenu, and give us the merit, Lasais Ritzaynai Tadir, to do his will constantly. Kein Yiratzon. May that be his will. And now we learn the discipline of the Rambam. Noshim v'avodim uktanim p'turim mikriyasma. Women Avadim Kananim and minors are potter from Kriyashma. Women are potter because it's limited by time. It's a mitzvah limited by time. Avadim are only chayiv in those mitzvahs that women are chayiv in, and children are potter because they're potter mikol mitzvah shebetayra. However, umalamdim es ketanim, when a child reaches the age of chinuch, we teach him to say Kriyashma lekroisa ba'inasa, to say it in its proper time, and to make the brachas before and after it, in order to initiate them in the mitzvahs. If his mind was busy, v'nechbaz, and his mind was already preoccupied, l'dvar mitzvah, for another mitzvah, pater mikol mitzvahs, he's pater from all mitzvahs, because Isaac mitzvah pater mitzvah mikriyashma. Therefore, a chassan who's marrying a virgin, and his mind is preoccupied with the mitzvah period v'rivya, and he's very anxious because maybe he won't find her a virgin. Lefika chassan shnasa besula pater mikriyashma, he's pater from kriyashma achi yavay aleha, until he consummates his marriage. His mind is not settled. Shemali Yimatzei Psulim, he's worried he won't find her a virgin. However, Vimshad Motzi Shabbos v'leibal, but if it's already, they get in those days they used to get married Wednesday night, so therefore Motzi Shabbos is already the third night. Vimshad Motzi Shabbos v'leibal, if it was already 3 nights and he didn't yet have intimacy, there already we say that he becomes more comfortable with her and more confident and less worried, and his mind is not preoccupied. Then chayiv likros Motzi Shabbos ve'elach. Then he already has to say Kriyashma. Shari niskara daita. He's calmed down. V'liba gaspa. He's comfortable and emboldened with her. Afal pi shalei bal, even though he didn't have intercourse yet. Aval anoiseas ba'ula. If he's marrying a girl that's already a ba'ula, she's not a virgin, so there's no worry about the virginity. Even though it's still a mitzvah period of Rivya, but it's yochel lasa shteim. He could do both. He could also concentrate on the kriyashma. Chayiv likrois ha'ovayin lo davar shemishabish daita, since his mind is not overtaken. And also any other mitzvah, even though he's involved in the mitzvah, he's involved with matzahs, he's involved with sukkah, he's involved, but it's not preoccupying his mind, and he could concentrate on the Kriyashma, he is mechuyev to say Kriyashma. We really want to thank everybody for joining us and wish you a wonderful day.